now more than ever, I'm holding on to what my faith guides and inspires and calls me to be and do. You know, faith can be challenged and ethics come into play. So that's critical. I would say I wouldn't be here without my faith.
Put on his head, I'm coming in high, I'm coming in quick, got what I got, I'm so content, he calling me big, running up chicks, running up, loving that flex, been on that marathon nail, I run at my pace, they loving the spread, foot on his neck.
I think the one thing I wanted to kind of start off with is like an idea of like your background, what's kind of led you up to where you are right now career-wise, a little bit about what you do, who you are. So if you wouldn't mind kind of starting us off there, man.
Yeah, so workforce kind of fell into my pocket. I've been in workforce development, specifically youth workforce development, for the last 5 years. COVID kind of forced me to pivot career-wise. Landed in workforce development with the city of Richmond. Now as the program manager, heading into my 5th summer, running what would be the largest work-based learning summer program in Central Virginia. So we're excited for that. Prior to that, spent a lot of time in higher ed, student affairs, student engagement. So that was really foundationally where I was. I'm kind of a nerd, educator. Right. So I believe in education, but more so awareness and knowing what your options are. I think aid decision making and can really change people's trajectory and where they're going in life. So
that's dope, man. That's dope. And obviously, so I appreciate hearing like the career side. Tell us a little bit too. Like you are an entrepreneur. You are about to publish a book.
See, you remind me of that.
I'm biased because I think us as professionals, no matter what our industry is, you know, it's important to leverage our skills in the marketplace. So tell us a little bit about where you are in your entrepreneurial journey as well, man.
I'm just, you know, I'm like just getting out of the crib. I'm just starting to pull up. I don't even know if I'm really crawling yet. I'm really just pulling up. It's been interesting. I think watching your journey and your just your desire and passion and push to do some of the entrepreneurship work has really been inspirational. But it's hard work. Lots of folks out here say just go start a business. But really it's full-time work as well. But it's also exciting because it puts you in a space where you can be creative. You can tap into some of those passion areas. You can channel your purpose a little bit better. So yeah, first book on the horizon, coming soon. Really focusing on kind of debunking some of the myths around mentorship and role modeling and feeling like there's a singular path that you got to go. Takeaways really like you need a starting five, right? You need a starting five to take those next steps, and you can pull from multiple places to be who you want to become. So
I love that, man. And I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing that. So I know obviously the book is coming soon, emphasizing mentorship. I would say leadership as well, and debunking what it looks like to get that mentorship from folks. Do you mind sharing or no? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it's called No One Role Model, and it talks about just my my journey in understanding role modeling from the elementary school all the way to now my professional career, and just what people have said about it. You know, it all came from a single thought of my daughter, who was like, I want to be like multiple people. And she really opened up my eyes of like, man, something you've been struggling with for 30 plus years. The simple answer is you can be like multiple folks. You can add things to your toolkit from others who you admire as role models versus just wanting to say like you want to be like one person. So lots of other good tips and tricks in there. So I'll leave that for when you buy the book and read the book.
That's right. Not too many gems. You gotta pay for them gems, man. No, I love it, man. I think a couple things, like you and I have built relationship with, obviously starting the common bond has been like as a contractor, as a subcontractor, right, to provide value for the organization that you lead. But then we've grown and like obviously entrepreneurship, but probably more so I would say as friends. And it's hard to make friends when you are grown. People don't realize that. It's hard to make friends when you grow, especially if you have a family. So I personally appreciate you, man. I just want you to know that. But because I do know you, I think one of our intersections is our faith. Tell me a little bit about like you know how much your faith sort of impacts your I'm gonna say your overall world of work. You know, maybe entrepreneurially, creatively, what you show up to do in the workplace. Just take us on a journey. What does that look like, feel like, sound like for you?
Yeah, I think now more than ever, I'm holding on to what my faith guides and inspires and calls me to be and do, especially in the climate of the world and the climate of the environments I work in. I mean, I work in political environments, and I'm not saying that it's all bad, but there are moments where, you know, faith can be challenged and ethics come into play. So that's critical. I would say I wouldn't be here without my faith. And I think I believe that you don't necessarily always have all the skills to get the job done, but I think the Lord puts people in place like you to help you accomplish some of those things, right? So you might not know how to take the next step, but there is somebody there that either have taken that step or can walk alongside you to get that done. And the book talks about just how my faith was challenged as well, and how it all come full circle of you just finding yourself in a place where you can provide support and leave something better than where you have found it without taking too much from it.
Too many of us are getting stuck in our dreams, our callings, and career, which is why I wrote this book, Purpose-Driven Work. I have over 10 years of experience working as a career development professional, from which is where I write this book. And I've also utilized some biblical principles, but also some career development principles to help us strategically get unstuck in our careers, but also to help us to align purpose in the work that we do. Check it out. You guys can order the book on Amazon or visit my website for a signed copy. Be blessed.
That's good, man. So if I'm kind of processing what you shared. So one, it sounds like for your personal relationship with God, it kind of keeps you grounded. To navigate, I'm gonna just say turbulence, because no matter where we are in our workplaces, like the turbulence, it could be political agendas, it could be obviously personalities of working colleagues and so forth. So it just sounds like that's like a ground level type deal. But then the extra layer of onion is like how you sort of like force multiply, like how you create, your as an author, how you sort of like lead and maybe, sort of think about your journey as an entrepreneur. Like that seems like your faith is a North Star compass, if you will. I'm gonna frame this as a question. One of the things, like for me as I'm gonna say as more of a creator, like when I write purpose-driven work, purpose-driven coaching, like I see myself as a thought leader and a creator more than I actually like ground level, practical building solutions and coaching. Even though I find myself doing more of that, like that's what I spend most of my time doing. I feel, but the point I'm trying to make is like I feel called to create in order so other people can be in position to do what they need to do. Right? So faith drives that for me. I'm curious for you though, framing it as a question. In what shape or fashion do you feel like faith is kind of like your North Star? Like how you feel like you're guided to like make a greater impact, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of us are called to create, but some of us are called to be around the table to identify and evaluate. And sometimes being the outlier in the room to challenge sometimes traditional convention and traditional operating, which oftentimes can exclude some folks. And that's where I think my faith lands, of knowing that I can sit in a space and be the only one with this opinion, and know that I've walked into the space praying about it, and being willing to say, well, it's going to be me and God, me and Jesus against probably everybody else's opinion sometimes. And oftentimes you might not win, but it plants that seed of thought and change. And that's where I really channel a lot of my faith in give me the right words and the confidence to sit in a space where you oftentimes can just go with the flow and go upstream, but sometimes you gotta go downstream.
I love that.
And challenge that.
I love that, man. Man, that's powerful. So what I heard you really process is like, so the language for me personally, in terms of faith being my North Star, is I want to leverage it as a creator to help force multiply. What I heard you say is you're trying to leverage the being at the seat of the table to be a force multiplier and advocate for people that might not have what they need to be successful, to make maybe processes, laws, and regulations be equitably reflect the needs of folks. Is that kind of what I heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I love that,
I
man.
think through the entrepreneurship journey as well, I mean, using the faith using my faith to know what I want entrepreneurship to look like, and not necessarily just chasing the bag, which the bag is great. But being willing to say no when it don't align necessarily with my faith and my ethics, and where I see my calling and purpose is, even if the skill set is there
Right.
and the need can be met, if some of those things don't align, it's being able to walk back and say, this is not what I want my organization to represent. So
I like that, man. Let's zoom out a little bit, man. So we're at this conference, and I think the goal for me personally is twofold. Like, like practical things that I need to enhance me as a professional. Like what shape or fashion can I enrich my skill set? What knowledge bases do I need to acquire? And then secondly is the relationship building piece. Who do I need to like collaborate with and meet and provide value to? So those are the two things. I'm curious, like, let's talk a little bit about like some of the takeaways for you personally. Like, what kind of sessions, what kind of things have you sort of been able to digest thus far? And maybe even posing this as like a question that you're more curious about exploring from being here.
Yeah, I think twofold for me, like we're kind of double hats of being at the conference. One as a program manager for, I mean, we're a relatively decently oiled machine, I think, in the city of Richmond, but you still always have room for growth. So it's what are others doing around the country that, that little tweaks that we can make to enhance that experience for the youth, for the city of Richmond residents. And then the other side of it is building those relationships of seeing what the landscape assessment is across the country and what needs are, and what can you add to your toolkit from an entrepreneurship lens to meet those needs across the country. I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, I think about, all right, who can I serve? But my parameter is Virginia or Maryland or North Carolina. And there's other hundreds of other localities or regions or organizations that you can support as well. So keeping that open mind, not kind of boxing yourself in.
That's good, man. I think one thing I've take away is one of the sessions was focused on justice involved youth. And I think this was kind of one of your passion areas too. But like you and I, one of our big businesses is doing large scale programming, right? So in your day job, like you manage a large scale programming team, but also in our entrepreneurship journey, having an RFP with a city entity. So a part of like the eligibility of the youth that we serve is justice involved. And overall, if you just zoom out, like we're serving disconnected youth, opportunity youth, folks that are like, that we want to help get a chance to be plugged into the workforce to be successful. But what was enlightening for me was to get more context on like kids that are in the juvenile justice system, and like who are the people that are frontline serving them, what are the barriers that they have themselves. And so I just want to, like, for me personally, I want to explore more what that looks like, because like we're going into some very uncharted territory. We're going into some rough places, places that are not like, I'm trying to paint this picture like you and I work in higher ed. We came from higher ed. Like, I think it gives a lot of skill for us, but at the end of the day, those kids, if they fail, they good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they gon' get back on their feet, whether they have to transfer, their parents back them up. The kids in juvenile justice system, foster care system, the kids that we serve in the hood, they already failing. Like failing for them is like the grade. You know what I'm saying? So that's an interesting area for me to explore. I would love for you to speak on like just opportunities for your own professional development, gaps that you might see in like these different niches that we're trying to serve, man.
Yeah. So I think when we think about populations, we often think about, well, what can I put in place to help them? With these populations, you got to understand what their needs are and build to support them. It's not necessarily building and then they come. It's actually asking them what they need and then building it, which is, I mean, that don't really work well in a lot of areas, right? Especially in local government or where you have to put out these services to make sure that you're supporting communities. But it's helping folks where I see right now, for me, it's helping folks understand what serving this community means, right? Because serving looks a lot differently. Like you put it so well for a college student. If they're there, for the most part,
they're gonna be straight.
They're gonna figure it out. I got a heart for serving youth who are incarcerated or been in the justice system, because I deeply believe that we are one step away from from being in that position, from just making mistakes, or a lot of us can't control the situations that we are in, but you got to be intentional, you got to be specific, and you have to be high touch. So those are the areas I would say if you're serving these youth with these needs, those 3 areas have to be there first, but you also got to listen to them to know what they want and be okay recognizing that traditional strategies might not work.
Put on his neck, I'm coming in high, I'm coming in quick, got what I got, I'm so content, he calling me big, running up chicks, running up, loving that flex, been on that marathon nail, I run at my pace, they loving the spread, foot on his neck.